3 private schools in the state of Ohio will have students going through drug tests. And part of the reason why is because the person who oversees these private schools has a brother who owns a business that does drug tests and profits from it. Okay. So James Kubacki is the person who is the head of one of these private schools. It's St. Edward High School in Cleveland. And again, it is a private school. If it was a public school, it'd be a little different. The Supreme Court had ruled that public school students cannot be drug tested. And his brother actually owns a company known as Psychemedics. So let me give you the details on that. His brother is Raymond Kubacki. He's the president and CEO of Psychemedics, which claims at least $7 million in quarterly revenue. They say that their primary focus is workplace drug testing. Secondarily would be emerging markets, and one of those would be schools and colleges.
Yeah, normally when you talk about emerging markets, you're talking about other countries like, oh, India, Brazil, Russia, emerging markets, whatever it might be, right? In this case, they're like, let's see, who else can we drug test inside America? Ooh, schools, they're emerging markets. Right? That's a ripe territory, especially if your brother is running some schools. Yummy for our tummy, we get more money that way. Well, is that kindergartner doing drugs? I don't know. Let's test them and make some money. That's an emerging market right there. Are kindergartners not emerging? They are emerging.
Emerging, definitely. But, you know, so obviously there's a huge conflict of interest here, and there's a company that stands to profit from this tremendously. Let's look at the numbers. One of the schools, St. Edward, has 980 students. Another one, Gilmour Academy, has 340 students. And the final school has 1,500 students. And it's going to cost between $40 and $50 to administer each drug test. They're not going to do urine tests. They're actually going to do hair follicle drug tests, because that can determine drugs that have been in your system longer.
Great.
But at the same time, this is a private school, which means the funding for these tests is going to come from the parents. The parents are going to end up paying for this. And the parents are in favor of it. So if the parents are in favor of it, even if there's a conflict of interest, do you, I guess.
Look, I don't agree, but my disagreement might be irrelevant, okay? So my point here is that if you're one of the people that's in the minority of those parents, I don't mean a minority in racial terms, but I mean among the people who disagree and say, I don't want our kids tested like this, I don't want to waste our money like this. Since it's privately run schools, I guess you can, basically decide on your own to not go to that school anymore, but that's a significant hassle and a change of life for your kid and not something easy to do. But you're likely going to get steamrolled by the administration and the majority of parents who agree. If it was a public school, as Anna explained, it would be entirely different. But I think it's a terrible idea. And by the way, you know why they do the hair follicle thing? Okay, so they find out for a longer period of time whether you're on drugs. So then they're likely to catch more people.
Right.
And then you're going to have to test those people over and over again as you go through the whole process. And then they make more money and more money.
Yeah, it's all about the money. Just like anything related to the drug war, it's not about helping people who are addicted to drugs. It's about making as much money as possible. There's a lot of profit involved in there. But I actually kind of like this story because I think that it highlights something that I'm most passionate about, and it's public education. Private education is not held to the same standards that public education is held. And what I mean by that is there are certain regulations that are better in public schools than private schools. So this kind of stuff isn't going to fly in a public school especially because of the fact that there's a conflict of interest, right? You're not going to get religious indoctrination at a public school. You're going to get science education at a public school. So when you have states like Louisiana that are taking money out of the public school education and funding vouchers so they can convince parents to send their kids to private schools, you should realize how disastrous that is.
And one final thing here. The reason I bet you that most parents are in favor of this is because they think, my kid isn't doing drugs, and I don't want him under the bad influence of kids who are doing drugs, so let's catch those guys and throw them out of the schools. And lo and behold, my guess is a lot of them are going to be surprised when it turns out, oh, Johnny did some pot 2 weeks ago, and they caught that in his hair follicle, and now he's fucked. Oops. It's never your kid, but some kids do it, and trust me, some of those kids are your kids. And you're going to mess with their lives by doing this. It's a terrible idea.